who won the Democratic governor debate, from a concerned wife of the Virgin Islands. The Democratic candidates for governor met in a labor-focused debate hosted by the United States Virgin Islands Area Labor Federation. The three candidates were Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach, Delegate Stacey Plaskett, and former Senate President Donna Frett-Gregory. The questions centered on public employee contracts, education, WAPA jurors' healthcare, EDC compliance, government accountability, and the cost of living. To judge the debate fairly, I looked at three major categories commonly used to evaluate political debate performance: substance, rebuttal, and delivery. On substance, Donna Frett-Gregory had the strongest overall performance. She repeatedly brought the conversation back to implementation, accountability, and what government should actually do once laws are passed. Her strongest answers came on EDC compliance, PERB, labor issues, and basic neighborhood problems. She called for public-facing dashboards, better monitoring from the Office of the Governor, stronger funding for PERB, and labor management committees inside agencies to reduce grievances before they pile up. Roach also had strong substance, especially when discussing collective bargaining, jurors, and how government actually functions. His answer that negotiations should begin before contracts expire was one of the better technical answers of the night. Plaskett had strong federal experience and spoke confidently about Medicaid, infrastructure, WAPA, and health care. However, some answers were broad and did not fully answer the exact question. For example, when asked how much she would raise public employee wages, on what timeline, and how she would pay for it, she did not give a clear number or timeline. Substance winner, Donna Frett-Gregory. Donna Frett-Gregory won the rebuttal category. Her corrections were less frequent than the other two candidates, but when she did step in, she was more precise. Her sharpest moment came when Plaskett cited 300 cases sitting before the Public Employees Relations Board, PERB. Frett-Gregory corrected the record, noting that the 300 backlogged matters actually belong to the Office of Collective Bargaining, while PERB's own backlog is closer to 100-plus cases, a distinction that is worth noting given how often both candidates cited the backlog as a reason for urgency. On the question of unfilled neighborhood complaints like potholes and streetlight outages, she also pushed back on the idea that an app alone would solve the problem, proposing an accountability app paired with a monitoring system inside the Office of the Governor, then closed her redirect with a simple line that captured her overall approach to the night: what gets monitored gets done. Roach was also a strong rebuttal presence. He pushed back on the idea that, as lieutenant governor, he could simply force union negotiations to happen under the current governor, and he challenged Plaskett's statements about federal funding, the free tuition program, and the limits of local power under the Organic Act. His weakness, however, is political. He is trying to run as his own candidate while also serving in the current administration. That made some of his answers sound defensive, especially when the debate turned to failures under the Bryan administration. Plaskett was the most aggressive debater, but a few rebuttals weakened her credibility. One example was when she corrected Roach about aquaponics, even though he had referred to aquaculture, not aquaponics. The PERB and Office of Collective Bargaining mix-up was another instance where her aggression outpaced her accuracy. Rebuttal winner, Donna Frett-Gregory. Plaskett had the strongest stage presence. She spoke with confidence, gave polished answers, and framed herself as a fighter with federal experience. But delivery has to feel grounded and believable, not just sound strong. On that measure, Frett-Gregory had the steadier night. She stayed focused on local concerns: workers, WAPA, hospitals, government buildings, young people, and whether agencies actually follow through. Roach sounded knowledgeable but often defensive. Plaskett sounded powerful but sometimes overstated her case. Frett-Gregory was less flashy but more consistent. Delivery and credibility winner, Donna Frett-Gregory. There were a few statements that stood out. Plaskett's claim that the Virgin Islands has no ethics laws on the books was too broad. VI Code Title III, Section 114A, 17, gives the Attorney General the authority to administer and enforce laws pertaining to ethics and conflict of interest, and the government has actively trained agency staff on these standards, including a 2024 Integrity in Action Ethics Workshop covering the GVI's Code of Conduct and Conflict of Interest rules. What the territory appears to lack is an independent ethics commission with its own investigative and enforcement powers, separate from the Attorney General's office, the kind of standalone structure many states have. So while it is accurate to say the Virgin Islands has no independent ethics body, it is not accurate to say there are no ethics laws at all. Frett-Gregory's statement that the Virgin Islands is a universal healthcare territory was inaccurate if taken literally. The territory does not have a single-payer or universal health care system. Residents are not eligible to use the ACA marketplace or the SHOP marketplace, and instead rely on a patchwork of Medicaid, CHIP, separate group coverage for government employees and retirees through carriers like Cigna and United Healthcare, and the private commercial market for everyone else, which is the opposite of a unified universal system. To be fair, Frett-Gregory may have been speaking more broadly about the government's role in subsidizing health care, including coverage for government employees and emergency support given to the public hospitals when unpaid bills and vendor debt become a crisis. However, she did not clearly explain that distinction in the debate. Her larger point seemed to be that if the government already helps subsidize health care in some areas, similar support should be explored for non-government workers and uninsured residents. Plaskett's warning that social safety nets will be gone was an overstatement in its wording, but the underlying concern was grounded in real cuts and eligibility changes that are already being felt nationally. The federal reconciliation law signed in 2025 cuts an estimated $186 billion from SNAP and roughly $840 billion from Medicaid nationally over the next decade. And by spring 2026, more than 3.5 million people nationwide had already lost SNAP benefits as the new rules took effect. Virgin Islands officials, including Plaskett herself in a meeting with VI educators, have warned that the territory's universal free school lunch program is at particular risk because reduced Medicaid and SNAP enrollment directly affects which schools qualify for the federal community eligibility provision. And the VI Board of Education has noted the territory already operates under less flexible federal funding formulas than the states. So while gone overstates what is happening, these programs are being significantly cut and restricted, not eliminated outright. The scale and immediacy of the cuts Plaskett was pointing to are real and already measurable. Based on substance, rebuttal, and delivery, Donna Frett-Gregory won the debate. This ranking is my assessment based on the three categories above, not an official debate result or scientific poll. Roach had a strong command of government mechanics and held his own in rebuttal. Plaskett had the most polished delivery and the strongest federal resume, but Frett-Gregory had the best balance of practical answers, credibility, and connection to the labor-focused audience. Final ranking: 1. Donna Frett-Gregory. 2. Tregenza Roach. 3. Stacey Plaskett. The debate showed three different arguments for leadership. Roach argued experience. Plaskett argued fight and federal influence. Frett-Gregory argued implementation and accountability. In this debate, accountability carried the night. From a concerned wife of the Virgin Islands,